text polo. I'll show you the first one here. You can tell us the date of this particular post.
April 19, 2018.
Prior to the homicide date, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And why was this photo relevant to your portion of this investigation?
The hand signs and the caption on the post.
What does the caption mean?
I can't see. It says I was wicking bloods. I was bleeding red in the lab. You use the red B emoji. It's common for bloods to do that. He refers to the bloods and he's throwing up bloods hand signs.
Yep, okay. Alright. Showing you the second document. You can tell us the date of this particular post.
May 14, 2018.
Prior to the homicide date, correct?
Correct.
What does SLAT mean?
It stands for slime love all the time. It's something that came out of the YSL gang language. Blood started adopting it. YSL, the gang, is made up of bloods, mainly sex, money, murder, UVN sets. In this picture, he's with Young Thug, who's currently on trial for RICO on YSL gang, and they're throwing up bloods hand signs. At least Mr. Demons is.
And so the hand signs and the caption were two things that were important to you in your investigation?
Yes.
Showing you the third. Please tell me the date of this particular photo that the defendant posted.
May 16, 2018.
Okay. Prior to the homicide date, correct?
Correct.
Why was this photograph important to you in your investigation?
The hand signs he's throwing up the big B blood hand sign, and the caption he uses a little snake emoji for slime, and the star, 5-point star, blood hand. It's a symbol of the bloods.
Known symbols?
Yes.
Showing the next one. What social media account did this come from?
Came from Mr. Anthony Williams' Instagram account.
And what's the account name?
YNW Sat Chaser 1.
Okay. And who's in this photograph?
Mr. Demons and Anthony Williams.
And the date it was posted.
June 2nd, 2018.
Months before the homicide, correct?
Yes. The same signs and symbols on the bottom, the snake, the 5-point star.
All important to a gang investigator's case, correct?
Along with the hand signs, yes.
And the next one. What are we looking at here?
That's a snip from the live performance of Mr. Demons performing his song Butter Pecan. He's throwing up BB for blood.
Okay. So, also important to you, correct?
Correct.
And was this video, his live performance, available on YouTube for anyone to view?
Yep. It's still there.
You said it was still there? Okay. Showing you the next document. Why was this photograph important to you?
He's throwing up the big B for blood, right? Big B for blood on the left side of the screen, my left, your right, and the GKB hand sign on the right. That's that one right there.
Kind of like a parent company and the, the under company of it? One for each hand?
Yeah, he's just using multiple signs.
Okay. And you recall where this photograph came from?
forgot what interview it came from.
Not an interview, but it was online, correct?
Oh, yeah, it's online.
Okay, was this on YouTube?
Yes,
Publicly available?
yes.
Still publicly available? And the next up. Can you tell us what we're looking at here?
Picture of Mr. Demons throwing out the 8 blood hand sign, and it was posted July 21st.
Okay. Now, obviously, this is not a photograph from Instagram, or it's not a screenshot from Instagram. So what are we looking at here?
Zoom up. This one was posted on Pinterest.
Okay. And does it tag the original post in Instagram?
I believe it did. I have to go back.
I'll direct your attention to right above where it says YNW Melly Child Flood.
Right, I see that. I just want to say yes and then click on it.
I'm sorry, I can't
hear
hear
a word you're
you
saying.
can't hear anything.
I'm sorry, sir. I said I don't want to click, I don't want to say yes at the moment and then now the link not be available.
And that would be because certain things are now removed from the internet, correct?
Correct.
Since you last saw it. But was available at the time you originally reviewed his social media presence online in 2022.
Yes,
The same data that your predecessor, Detective Morales, looked at in January of 2019, correct?
correct.
Showing you the next document. What are we looking at here?
Mr. Demons' Instagram account.
Okay. And is it just a screenshot of the overall account, not a particular photo?
Correct.
Okay. So can you describe to us what was important to you about this particular screenshot?
The use of the word slime, that's blood lingo. East Coast Bloods, they've adopted that word, they call each other slime. They use it also to describe different acts, like sliming someone, or basically betraying someone.
I can't hear any word, Judge, I'm sorry. Is there a microphone?
It's a term adopted by the Bloods, East Coast Bloods, slime. We use the color green, so you put the green heart. It could be used as an adjective, or just, you can say that's my slime. They can refer to each other as a slime. It's a common term that Bloods use on the East Coast to identify each other.
Also important, and again, investigation, correct?
Yes.
And the next document. What are we looking at here?
It's Mr. Demons and a subject that we identified as Jaquan Burton, Gangster Killer Blood member who recruited Mr. Demons into Gangster Killer Bloods.
Okay. Now, Detective, I know, we all know, because it was suppressed, that there were some emails in Google, the Gmail account for the defendant, regarding Jaquan Burton.
Yes,
But Detective, when you got the case to investigate, did you ever look at the download for Gmail?
to this date I haven't opened it.
Okay. So if you hadn't opened it, how did you learn about Jaquan Burton?
From the text messages between the two of them.
Okay. And were there text messages within the prescribed time frame that we are allowed currently with the court's order?
Yes, after October 26th.
I didn't hear that.
After October 26th. Sorry about that.
Now, before I get to the text messages, Detective Polo, when you are starting your investigation, going through social media, you try to identify the individuals in the photograph with the defendant who are also making the same gang signs.
So typically, if it was just a blood set that was unknown to us, then yeah, we try to ID as many as possible to see if we can find out a specific set. Sometimes we can't, but this is a GKB hand sign. We know it to be a Gangster Killer Blood hand sign, so at this point I know he's Gangster Killer Blood. He wouldn't be throwing up, Mr. Demons wouldn't be using Gangster Killer Blood hand sign unless he was affiliated with them or a member of their gang.
Okay, so you were starting to investigate this case, now you have the defendant's phone download, right?
Yes.
You see text messages. Did you review any of the information regarding the contact names or information for the person you've now identified as Jaquan Burton?
Yeah, he had specifically, I went through the contact list and I identified names that were consistent with blood language. So any names that maybe had a blood drop next to them, or they had changed the letters like the C's into B's, or anything related to Gangster Killer Bloods or G-Shine. So for Mr. Burton, his name is actually saved in the phone as Herc.
What does Herc mean?
It's a term specifically only used by Gangster Killer Bloods. It's a way they address each other. They call each other Hercs. Like, that's my Herc, I'm a Herc. It's a term they've adopted. So the fact that he had this person saved in his phone as Herc and not by his name, Jaquan Burton, or by his street name, Quan, made me think this person I need to look into, because he literally has him saved as the gang's name. That would be equivalent as if he had saved him as Gangster Killer Blood or G-Shine. I would want to know who that person is.
Okay, so when you're investigating the case, you see this photograph, you see that information, do you go about identifying Jaquan Burton?
Yes.
How?
Through the contact information on the phone, his phone number came back to himself, and through the text messages after October 26th, Jaquan Burton sends his email, which is, I believe, jaquan.burton@gmail.com, something to that effect, burton.jaquan, I forgot the exact, it's his legal name.
Okay, and so within the court's prescribed time period, there are text messages between Mr. Burton and the defendant, correct?
Yes,
And in that particular group of messages, you said email was provided, correct?
yes.
Showing counsel state H for identification. If I were looking at that, I'm just gonna let you know this comment from whenever. Or something right now. Approach witness ground.
Yes, Counsel, you may.
Detective, showing you the frequency mark states H for identification. Take a look at it for me.
Okay.
You recognize it?
Yes.
And what is it?
These are messages between, it doesn't show his safe name in it because of the format or the way I was viewing the messages, so I can get it all together like that. But this is the phone number saved as Herc, which is Jaquan Burton's phone number. This message is between Mr. Demons and Jaquan Burton on October 29, 2018.
And are these messages that you were referring to where Mr. Burton provides his email address?
Yes,
All within the prescribed time period we are currently working with.
correct.
At this time, the statement enters evidence. The frequency mark that states H, that states 5.
Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor, I may be misplaced with my understanding of what has occurred, but if I'm hearing correctly, that this is different blurbs that have all been put down into one document as opposed to a screenshot of exactly what was there? I mean, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Whether, is that how it appears, or it's taken from one from page 2, and another one's from page 3? This is all sequential.
Can I answer, sir?
No problem, you can answer. That's fine.
Yes, it's sequential. I just had to put it in you guys have done the cell-right extractions. If you put it in the timeline format, you can see it sequential instead of like it jumping around sometimes.
Okay, so that's all just sequential, one conversation?
Yeah, there's nothing been taken out.
Okay.
States H, states number 5.
All right, detective. So if you could just, I don't know if your screen is working for us today, but as you indicated, there were messages between Jaquan Burton and the defendant on the defendant's phone. And that shows us the date of October 29th, 2018, which is within the prescribed time period, correct?
Right.
And then these messages between them, why were they important to you?
Well, can you push it down a little bit? Missing the top messages. There. It starts off, this is 3 days after the homicide, and Mr. Demmons writes to Mr. Burton, think the feds on my shit hurt. So he's implying that he's not implying, he's stating that he thinks the feds, law enforcement are watching, are monitoring. And he says, I see you, and then Mr. Burton then responds, we just gotta watch how we bark at each other. That's all, just talk normal. So obviously you can see there, they cross out the C, the X's and C's, use the term bark. That's a blood term. One of the UBN symbols is the dog paw, and or 3 pit bulls. They'll say bark at me, it's a talk. So it says let's just pay attention to how we talk. Let's talk normal. The feds are watching. Let's just talk normal. Then Mr. Burton says he wants to ask about some music, and can we call him now? Mr. Demon sends him the casket MP3 that was saved on his, I believe it was saved in his notes section of his phone. And this is an example of how they would send the audio file that was saved in the notes. And Mr. Burton provides his email so that Mr. Demmons can communicate with them via email.
Okay. So seeing these text messages as an investigator, in your portion of the case, knowing that there's already a search warrant that's been executed to download the phone.
Yes.
Prior to any court ruling.
Right.
You obviously were able to view kind of what went back prior to October 26th, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You were also able to view some emails that you saw within the phone, correct? Had there not been a warrant done by Detective Moretti, would you, as the gang investigator, then have done warrants?
It's pure speculation.
Objection noted. It's overruled at this point. I understand what the objection is, but it's overruled. Proceed.
Would you have done warrants as a gang investigator to determine whether this is relevant evidence to a gang investigation regarding a homicide?
To obtain the relevant evidence, yes, especially with the MP3, that MP3 titled Casket 3 days after the homicides occurred. That's kind of important, and Mr. Demmons stating that he's being monitored by the feds.
Okay. Now, Detective, I know we'll get to this a little bit more when we get to the social media warrants and the Google warrants, but based on your review of the defendant's phone, did he typically redirect conversations to different forms of communication?
There was times where he would send his email. The conversation would start, and then he would just send the YNW Melly booking email out for communications to continue there.
Okay. In your training and experience, Detective, is email a common communication form that individuals that are a part of a gang use to communicate.
I can object, Your Honor. It's a communication tool that everybody uses. That question can only be answered because everybody communicates that way.
I object to the motion. Overruled.
You can answer. Yeah, so specifically to gangs and the use of emails, these nationally recognized gangs that have bylaws, large books of knowledge, that information is typically sent through email. It's not normal to be sending that through text messages. They're long documents for the most part, and they're being copied and pasted from large text documents, right? So they're usually written in like notepad form or in a Word document form, and then bits and pieces of knowledge will be sent to the gang recruit or the members of the gang as they're progressing through their steps in this gang and as they're climbing through the hierarchy and progressing as members of the gang.
So you mentioned the terms knowledge, books of knowledge, things of that nature. In your review of the defendant's phone, were you able to determine within the prescribed time period that there were discussions regarding books of knowledge?
Yeah, there's messages between, I believe it was also Jaquan Burton and Mr. Demmons, where Mr. Burton sent him a short, maybe 3-line snippet of Eastside Blood motto that he needs to memorize.
Going back to social media, which these states 4. What are we looking at here?
That's from Mr. Demmons' Facebook account,
What's the date of that?
January 17, 2019.
Okay, so that would be after the homicide, correct?
Correct.
And what was important about this particular post?
The album cover, just throwing up Gangster Killer Blood with both hands. He's got the Gangster Killer Blood motto on the back of his shirt, or his outfit. You shine, I shine, we all shine. I mean, it's not verbatim the motto, but it's the motto. And this is definitely him paying homage to G-Shine,
And
Gangster Killer Bloods.
is this an album cover he put out?
That's his album cover.
Okay. And what does the caption say?
Ask Me Anything Friday, 5 p.m. And you post the Reddit account where you can find him, where you can talk to him.
Okay. So for individuals who don't know how social media works, when someone says, ask me anything Friday, 5 p.m., does that mean they're going live on a particular social media platform?
Yeah, that means they're going to be available for questions, and not just questions, just to talk to their families.
Okay. So an individual such as the defendant goes live on his phone where anyone in the public can see him, message for him to talk to and answer questions, correct?
Correct.
Is it safe to say that prior to the homicide, and even after the homicide, before he was arrested, the defendant consistently used social media as a way to communicate with others?
Even while in custody, members of his organization, Gangster Killer Bloods, one of the other members that brought him in.
I'm going to object, Your Honor, that's not responsive to whether he used.
Abstain. Rephrase.
Stick to what I'm asking right now,
Okay.
which is, before he was arrested, did the defendant himself consistently use social media platforms, which are found on his phone, to communicate with others?
Yes.
Is it a common form of communication for him with individuals, whether they were fans or friends or family?
Yes.
Showing you the next document within states 4. Let's first start with the account we're looking at. Whose account is this?
Anthony Williams, YNW Sack Chaser 1.
Okay. And what is the caption?
He wrote, but I'm, so that's what he's trying to say. I'm YNW, but shouting swear I'm YSL. reason he's saying that is because they're in the picture with Young Thug, who's a member of YSL.
Before we get to the photograph, do the emojis mean anything?
Yeah, these are the same emojis. The snake, it's an East Coast Bloods adopted symbol, and the sneezing, that's like the slap wiping your nose. That's what that emoji is in reference of.
And is that a common emoji and, I guess, act that you just did on the stand for blood gang members?
Yes, specifically blood gang members.
All right. And what is the date of this post?
May 17, 2018.
Obviously prior to the homicide.
Yes.
So we now see the snake emoji on top of the photograph.
Yes.
Again, same emoji you mentioned before regarding gang members.
Right.
Okay. And who was in this photograph?
This one's blurry. I remember this photograph from before, but it's pixelated. But that's Mr. Demons on the right side. My right, your left. Young Thug in the middle, and also Jeffrey Williams, and then Mr. Williams, Anthony Williams on my left, your right.
Okay. So is it common for, I guess, individual blood sects to hang out together?
Yeah.
Are there also times where those individual sects also don't get along and fight?
Yes.
Sometimes kill each other?
Yes.
Showing you another portion of stage 4. What are we looking at here?
This snapshot from Murder on My Mind YouTube music video.
Okay. And if you could, is this the account of the defendant, his YouTube account where he posts all of his media?
Yes.
Okay. And does he also then publicly state to everyone the other platforms that you can find him on?
He does.
What are they?
Instagram, so YNW.Melly, Twitter, YNW Melly, SoundCloud, YNW Melly, and Facebook, YNW Melly 772.
Now, Detective, are you aware that in this case, Detective Moretti, in fact, did a warrant to Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook?
Yes.
And so, at the time that you began reviewing the evidence in this case, there was no suppression order, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, let's say you came on originally, and there was no warrant done. As a gang investigator, with your expertise and the amount of time that you spend investigating gangs to determine whether or not they truly are a gang member, would you have done warrants to these particular sites?
I would have done warrants to these sites specifically for evidence of gangs.
Speculation, this is if.
Absolutely, it is speculation, but I'd allow the question for purposes here. Overruled.
Showing you another portion of stage 4. What page is this?
It's Jaquan Burton's page,
Okay. What kind of page is it?
Facebook,
All right. And he goes by Pleasy Burton.
on this account, yeah.
Okay. And what's the date of this particular post?
December 3rd, 2018.
And what is the photo that we're looking here of?
That's a photograph that was also found on Mr. Demon's phone. And it's a picture of Mr. Demon in front of Gangster Killer Blood, and this and a photograph of Mr. Burton also displaying Gangster Killer Blood's with his hands.
So this publicly available photo of Mr. Burton with the defendant is the same Mr. Burton whose text messages we found within the defendant's phone, correct?
Yes,
Okay. The same individual who is messaging him an email address for him to send things to, correct?
correct.
Showing you the last photograph, stage 4. What are we looking at here?
Same thing, the use of the slap term, 5-point star, the snake. He's saying he's YSL, he's hanging with Doug, and he puts up his YNW for life hashtag on it with the 5-point star as well. Mr. Demons has the big B hand signs displayed.
Okay, and see with individuals again, I'm assuming that's also Young Thug. That's also a known gang member.
Yes.
Also important to your investigation, correct?
Yes.
Also publicly available for anyone to see and capture, correct? So detective, with all this publicly available information, again, taking steps to determine whether or not he's a true gang member, seeing all that type of information, seeing the text messages just within the prescribed time period we have, would you have done warrants, again, to determine what those emails were?
Objection on the speculation.
Thank you. It is speculation. I agree with the purpose of this hearing.
Doing warrants on these accounts is something that we routinely do on every gang investigation. It's most of the gang-related information is collected from. So we don't typically have the subject's phone in our possession because these investigations are proactive.
Okay. Now, again, sticking to the prescribed timeline that the court has ruled on.
October 26.
October 26th, the defendant's phone. Did you go in and see text messages between him and his manager, Track, that were relevant to your investigation?
Yes.
Did these particular conversations refer to things that occurred prior to October 26th? Or appear to be referring to prior to October 26th?
Yes.
Okay. Did you also notice that there was a gang conversation taking place between his manager, Track, and the defendant?
Yes,
I
it
would
was.
object unless we have those conversations. This is just pure speculation on his part.
Getting there.
Well, let's see.
Oh, I kind of set up a question first.
Objection, no,
detective,
we'll proceed.
again, there were messages that you found, correct?
Correct.
Were they relevant to your gang investigation?
Yes.
Showing defense counsel to increase the market states to see for identification and composite of 7 documents.
Sure. We're recessed, counsel.
Yes.
Oh, I apologize. We'll wait, I thought it was there. Present is the defendants, his counsel, assistant attorney, the witness remains on the stand. You may proceed now. You may.
Detective, I'm showing you the precinct marked states C, a composite of 7 documents. Take a look at it.
It's out of order.
You can put it back in order for us, please. You recognize these?
Yeah.
And what are they?
Messages between Mr. Demons and Jameson Francois.
Okay. And were these messages within the prescribed time period that the court has currently allowed us?
Yes.
And why were these messages, I guess, relevant to you in your investigation?
That first, that one I'm holding on top, I believe it's 5 pages. It's messages talking about Mr. Demons throwing up gang hand signs, and how it's not beneficial to his music career. Second set of messages, I believe, were about paying lawyer fees and loyal fees.
Okay. So as a gang investigator investigating a homicide, but the gang portion of it, you're using messages regarding gang activity and paying off witnesses. Would you have gone back and done a warrant, had a warrant not existed by Detective Moretti, to go find the context as to these messages?
Yes.
Your Honor, respectfully.
Is 19 objection order is overruled. Again, outlined for the purposes here.
The state would enter into evidence which will mark the state C, a composite of 7 pages, states 6.
Thank you. Will be admitted.
State C will be marked states number 6, composite of 7 pages.
All right, Detective, showing me state 6. Let's start with first grouping. So we can see it. Can you tell us what that first column tells us?
The party it came from, it says from party track, Jameson Francois to owner Jamell Demons, and the message is, "Why are you dropping rakes?" Question.
Okay. So obviously, when you're looking at the phone itself, it doesn't appear like this until you run the report, correct?
Right.
Between two individual parties.
Correct.
All right. So are these messages all between Track and the defendant?
Yes.
And so you have the content there, and then what's the date of these messages?
December 15th, 2018.
After the homicide, correct?
Correct.
All right. So tell us what the conversation that we're looking at here is discussing that would then eventually lead you as a gang investigator with the training experience you've had to go back, if there was not a warrant done, to do a warrant to get the context of this information.
Track asked Mr. Demons, "Are you beefing with Gods?" It's a typo. He tries to fix it again, Gods again, and then finally gets it correct, GDs.
And what
Reason I
does
know,
James mean?
yeah. So the reason I know it means right God and that GDs is because he's asking why is he throwing down rakes? Rakes referring to a pitchfork. Pitchfork. GDs throw a pitchfork up. If you're throwing it down, it's a sign of disrespect to GDs, gangster disciples, who are historically not an ally of the Bloods. Does that mean that all? Well, we'll get to it in the message. Mr. Demons does a good job of explaining it for us. So then Track sends him the picture where it says empty. That's a picture. I don't know if we printed that one out, but that's the actual screenshot of Mr. Demons on Instagram doing a stack with his hands, throwing up gang signs, and then throwing down pitchforks. Then Mr. Demons says, "Yeah, I don't fuck with them. FW, fuck with them." And then Track asks, "When? When did that happen?" Mr. Demons says, "Every time I get locked up." But it's not every GD set. It's not every GD certain sets. So what I was about to explain, just because historically they weren't allied doesn't mean he doesn't get along with every GD. He could have some friends that are GDs. He's saying there's certain GD sets that he doesn't get along with. And that it's happened every time he gets locked up, which predates the homicide.
Okay.
Then Mr. Demons says, "It's not going to be a big deal." Track says, "You have fans that are GDs. If you don't rock with them, you don't, but don't advertise it." Track is concerned about Mr. Demons' music career and him losing fans. So Mr. Demons says, "There's still going to be fans, regardless. Snoop Dogg disses Bloods." And Snoop Dogg is an openly admitted member of the Crips. So he's saying, if Snoop Dogg can diss Bloods, and people still listen to Snoop Dogg, I can just diss GDs, and I'm still going to have the same fans. My fan base is not going to change just because I'm dissing a set of GDs.
Now, detective, you're asked to investigate a crime such as this, and all you're given is this page of conversation talking about gang activity. Would you be able to opine, in your expert opinion, that an individual is in fact a gang member, or would you need more?
I definitely will.
Okay, so if you needed to do a warrant that didn't exist, would you have gone back and done a warrant to get the context of what you're talking about?
Speculation.
It is the objections to the overruled purposes hearing all allow.
I would have to write a warrant dating back at least to the time that he's been locked up, because he says every time he is locked up, he has issues with GDs. So he's giving us a time frame when he's been in custody. That dates back to when he was a juvenile. So I would have to write warrants to get that information and find out what GD sets he's having issues with, why he's having issues with them, what gang he was a part of when he was beefing with them, if he was a part of a gang at all, or if he was in the jail or in the prison or the juvenile camp as a neutron. A neutron would be someone who doesn't align with anything. This here doesn't really specify whether it be blood, neutron, Black King, doesn't say anything. He just says he doesn't mess with GDs. And obviously he's talking about his set. They're throwing up the stack.
Okay. So the second page of that conversation now. Same date, December 15th. you can talk to us about what this page of the conversation meant to you as a gang investigator.
Mr. Dennis tells Mr. Francois, it's something you won't understand. You want me to read it verbatim?
Sure, and then explain to us what it means.
It's some shit you won't understand. So he's saying it's just something you're not going to understand. Why? Because track, James and Francois, it's clear they're part of the game based off the context of these incidents.
Sure. I didn't get to agree on that.
Mr. Francois is apparently not a gang from the context of these messages. He doesn't understand gang culture.
So let me just step back a second. When you say he's not part of the gang, you mean of the blood gang or G-Shine or GDs, correct?
Right.
Okay.
So track, Mr. Francois states, I don't want to understand. It's bad for business. Move, keep that to yourself. So he's telling him, I don't care and I don't want to understand what it means to you. Dissing the GDs is bad for your business. It's bad for his music. And he also states, you're not the only one in the cars or out of town. Don't unnecessary pressure. So he doesn't want any unnecessary pressure. Pressure being unwanted attention, maybe getting shot at, maybe getting pressed by GDs when they go to a different venue. If you're dissing GDs and you go to a venue in a city that's controlled by GDs, let's say he goes to Chicago and he decides to play in Chicago as predominantly full of GDs. Now, Track's in danger because Mr. Demons was dissing GDs. And there might be some GDs that take offense to it. Like Mr. Demons said, not all of them, but some of them.
Okay.
And Track doesn't want it. So then Mr. Demons says, I'm not scared of nobody. You were thinking too deep on certain shot. Saying, I'm not scared. He doesn't care if he gets pressed. He doesn't care about the pressure. He doesn't care that he dissed GD. And he's telling Track to stop thinking so deep. It's not that serious.
Okay. So we don't need to read the rest, but basically with this continuation of the conversation we saw on page 1, let's say you had these 2 pages just by themselves. Same question as before. If a warrant had not been done on the entire phone, would you have gone back and done a warrant to determine the context of this conversation?
Yes, there's still no context to why he's having issues with GDs, other than every time I get locked up, I have issues with GDs. There's no context to that.
Okay, so just based on this alone, it gives you context, or it gives you an inkling that there's some gang activity, but not enough to opine as to whether he's actually involved in one, correct?
It shows that there's definitely some gang nexus to it. There's definitely a gang nexus because of the way he's talking, saying it's something you won't understand. You as a normal person won't understand. Me as a gang member, it means something to me. That's what he's saying.
Go to page 3. This is a continuation of that same conversation.
Yes.
Okay? And what are we talking about here?
Mr. Dimmons writes, it's part of my stack, bro. You won't understand. Goddamn. Track. So he's just saying that's part of his stack. Throwing down the rates, throwing down pitchforks, dissing the GDs, it's part of his stack. The stack being the gang signs that he throws up in the sequence to rep his set. So rep what blood set he's a part of, or what gang he's a part of, what gang he's a part of, period. And that's just something he always includes in his stack. Then the track, Mr. Francois says, bro, you never stacked that before. Mr. Damon says, been throwing that shit down, so he's stating that he's always had it in his stack. The track says, I watch you stack. And Mr. Damon says, go look at my old stuff, referring to older posts.
Okay, so detective, again, same question. Seeing this, and determining whether or not the defendant is in fact a gang member, would you need to go back and determine what the old stuff was he was referring to?
I would do what he told the track to do, go back and look at his old stuff.
And you would need a warrant to do that if it wasn't publicly available, correct?
Correct.
But it's here within the prescribed time frame the court has now ordered us to look at, which is December 15th of 2018, correct? Next page.
Track states to Mr. Demons, I'll just start driving in different cars. I'm pussy. Peace. So Track's saying, all right, I just won't drive in the same car as you anymore because he doesn't want that pressure. He doesn't want to get shot at. He doesn't want to have any issues with the G's. And he's saying,
Okay.
he's scared.
All right, so I'm going to draw your attention now to the bottom portion of this. Let's start with the one at 10:58.
Thug throw up Crip Killer in front of Duke. It's different. It's to a specific folk. And then the message is cut off. He's referring to Young Thug, who's a glutton, throwing up Crip Killer in front of Duke, who, by the context, is a Crip. And saying it's not an issue. That these other rappers that are associated, members or affiliated with gangs, are throwing up these gang hand signs, dissing other gangs, it's okay for him to do it as well.
Okay? And so again, context of this conversation insinuates gang membership, correct?
Yes.
But not enough to just rely on this particular conversation.
No.
Next page. Same date, December 15th. Conversation continues. What do we see here?
Track concedes that this gang shit is confusing, bro. LOL. So even Track knows this is gang conversation, obviously, and that he doesn't understand the gang world like Melly does, or Mr. Demons does. So he's saying it's confusing. He doesn't understand.
Okay. So again, let's take this entire conversation we just went through as a whole. Would this be enough for you to opine as a gang expert that the defendant was in a gang?
Say he was part of the gang, yeah, but
Would you need more to corroborate that fact?
yes,
Okay. Would you need context to explain really what they're talking about here?
yes,
You have done a warrant if a warrant had not been done by Detective Murray.
I would have.
Yes, Your Honor, speculation.
Objection noted, don't rule on allowed purposes here.
Now I want to show you still part of case 6, another grouping of text messages between Track and the defendant from 11/29/2018 within the prescribed order of the court right now. Can you tell us what we're looking at here?
This was on November 29, 2018. Track and Mr. Demons talking. Track says, I just had that talk with Mariah about everything, hopefully. Mr. Demons responds, fuck her. Track responds, she listened. Mr. Demons responds, no she didn't, no she don't. And then Track says, chill out bro. She just needs to learn how to deal. I did my part. I really talked to her and broke it down to her, all the angles, we're all angels, but all the angles. So after this, anything happened, you have all the rights.
Okay. Now, Detective, this by itself, I mean, not enough context there, correct? Just reading it on its own.
No.
Now, Detective, as coming into this case, you're provided all the police reports, correct?
Correct.
You're provided witness statements, correct?
Correct.
Did you review all those?
Yes.
Are you aware that Mariah Hamilton is a listed witness in this case?
Yes.
Are you aware of Mariah Hamilton's knowledge that she provided Detective Moretti in a statement in this case?
Yes.
So, having that context and seeing these text messages, which are currently within the prescribed court's time period, would you have gone back had a warrant not been done to see what messages might have existed between the defendant and Mariah Hamilton within his phone?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor, speculation, and there's another objection along with that, and that is the question was asked whether a warrant had been done. He only is in charge of whether an affidavit can be produced. It's up to the court to decide whether a warrant can be issued.
Thank you. Objection noted, and I understand it's speculation, but as I indicated previously, I'm allowed for purposes here. So moved.
Yeah.
Yeah. We need to write additional warrants to get context about what this is about. Obviously, this is after the homicide, and she is a listed witness, and she had given statements to law enforcement, and then became uncooperative.
While this case is still being investigated, correct?
Correct.
All right, now I'm showing you the last portion of State 6. More messages from December 2nd, 2018, post-homicide, within the court's prescribed time period. Can you tell us what we're seeing here?
December 2nd, 2018, Mr. Francois asked Mr. Demmons, you still got the money in your PNC account? Mr. Demmons writes, hell no, laughing. Track laughs back, emojis, and Track writes, what the hell you spent it on?
What is Mr. Demon's reply with?
I had to pay lawyer fees and loyal fees, and laughing fees.
And what does Track's manager respond with?
Oh damn, it'd be like that.
Now, as a gang investigator for as many years as you've been doing it, knowing at this point, based on your conversations with Detective Moretti, reviewing the reports, the statements, seeing Ms. Hamilton becoming uncooperative, and you see the defendant saying, I had to pay lawyer and loyal fees. What does that indicate to you?
Lawyer fees are fees you pay to your lawyers or to your defendant lawyers or friends lawyers or your friends.
But as to the second part, that would be pure speculation as to what loyalty is.
Thank you. He's been qualified as an expert.
And loyal fees in the context of gangs would be money you pay to people that remain loyal to you during criminal proceedings by withholding testimony, disappearing, not cooperating with law enforcement, lying, arguing themselves on the stand, leaving the country with fake identification, many things that happen in these cases.
Okay, so knowing, let's even go back before the first trial, knowing that certain things were occurring, where Ms. Hamilton, for example, had become uncooperative during the investigation, within the first few months of the investigation,
Right.
before even Mr. Devlin was arrested.
Right.
Seeing these messages, had a warrant not been done, because we know a warrant was done, but had one not been done, would you have done one in order to obtain more context and information and evidence that's relevant to provide context to the message that the defendant wrote about paying loyal fees?
Objection, speculation.
It is. I'm going to allow for the purposes here. It's over.
Yes, additional warrants would be written, especially in context after Mr. Francois states that he spoke with Mariah, she understands what she has to do, that along with loyal fees, and then an uncooperative witness would lead to additional warrants for gang-related witness tampering and obstruction of justice.
So, in essence, you would have written a warrant to figure it out,
Yes,
had one not existed.
yes.
Now, detective, in your training experience, when you write warrants, do you always write warrants with a simple time frame, or do you also sometimes simply include subject matters that are relevant to a particular investigation?
For gang-related investigations, it's usually subject matter based.
How come?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last part.
I'm sorry. For gang investigations, it's usually subject matter based because we need to identify when the person became a gang member, how long they've been a part of the organization. In most racketeering cases, you're going to be charged with predicates. In a RICO, you need the crimes had to have been committed while being a member of the enterprise. So you would need the context of when the person became a gang member, how involved they are in the gang, whether they're a gang member at all. If not, then they can't be included in these investigations, these gang investigations. It would be excluded. So the context of gang membership, gang knowledge, obtaining the documents from the gang members, especially after you've identified national gang, and national gangs always have gang knowledge that's written down and handed down from person to person, so the new members can learn it. And it's not just a one-time thing. You don't just get it when you come in. You get your 100-something page document. Here, memorize this. You get bits and pieces, and as you move through the ranks, as you prove yourself, you keep getting more pieces of gang knowledge. You don't just get it all at once. So the warrants would be more specific to the context of gang identifiers, gang contacts of the gang members, associations of the gang members, gang-related attire, clothing, gang-related signs, symbols, gang-related writings, the use of gang lingo. We've described crossing out the B's and crossing out the C's and the B's, or in Mr. Track's messages, the rakes. That's gang-related lingo. We're talking about pitchfork for gangster disciples. So that would be a more broad warrant that would need to be written. If you limited it to a couple of months, you might not, or you might not. You won't get the full context of the gang aspect of the case, because you don't just become a gang member and it ends there. That's it. You're not hired. You're a member of this organization. There's proceedings. There's meetings. It's a constant checking in, following up with your gang leaders. Not as simple as just applying to the sheriff's office, getting deputized, and he has a police badge. He must work for the sheriff's office. It's simple. This is something we have to understand the full context of their membership in this organization.
I'm sorry. All right, it's 12:30. How much more do you have, Nelson?
I mean, we're still on the first warrant, so, you can take off where you want and then finish in the afternoon.
All right, so we'll take our lunch and recess now. It's 12:30, so we'll see everybody back. How much time do you need? Hour 15? Hour? How much time do you need, guys?
Split the difference.
Quarter to 2. Thank you.